Hi, I'm Sofia, you're watching Paraligo, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can work the slanting waistcoat stitch in the round in a spiral. To work this stitch in the spiral, you need an odd number of chain stitches. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to chain 21. So start with a slip knot. And then yarn over and pull a loop. And repeat 20 more times. This was the second, 3, 4, 5, 6, 21 chain stitches. So now insert your hook into the last chain and slip stitch to join. Yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Next, insert into the first chain and place a single crochet. Yarn over, pull a loop, yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Repeat into the next chain. Continue placing one single crochet into each chain until the end of your round. And this is the last stitch of the first round. So what you're going to do next is insert your hook into the first stitch of the first round and place one more single crochet. And then mark this first stitch with a stitch marker. Skip the next stitch and insert your hook into the following one and place one more single crochet. Now go back into the skipped stitch and insert your hook into the post of the stitch, this little V formed at the front of the stitch. So insert your hook in here and place a waistcoat stitch. Yarn over, pull a longer loop, yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Skip the next stitch and insert your hook into the following one and place a single crochet. Go back into the skipped stitch, insert your hook into the post of the stitch in this little V that is formed at the front part of the stitch. Insert your hook and place a waistcoat stitch. Yarn over, pull a loop long enough to reach the surface of your round, yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. And as you can see, this waistcoat stitch, like the previous one, is kind of oblique. It's kind of tilted. So that is why we call it a slanting waistcoat stitch. And this is how you will work until the end of the round. You will skip the next stitch, place a single crochet into the following one, then go back into the skipped stitch and place a slanting waistcoat stitch, and so on until the end of your round. Only 2 stitches left to finish the second round. Skip the first one and place a single crochet into the next, which is the last stitch of the second round, and then go back into the skipped stitch and place a slanting waistcoat stitch, and this will be the last stitch of the second round. Remove the stitch marker to move to the third round. Skip the first stitch and place a single crochet into the next one, and place the stitch marker back into this first stitch of the third round. And now go back into the skipped stitch, which was the first stitch, the first single crochet that we've started the round with, the second round. and place a slanting waistcoat stitch. Now skip the next stitch and place a single crochet into the following one. And now go back into the previous slanting waistcoat stitch and place a slanting waistcoat stitch into the post of the old slanting waistcoat stitch. It's a long phrase, I know. So again, skip the next stitch, place a single crochet into the following one, and again go back into the skipped stitch, which was the slanting waistcoat stitch of the previous round, and place a new slanting waistcoat stitch into the post of the old one. And repeat. Skip the next stitch, place a single crochet into the following, and then place a slanting waistcoat stitch into the post of the slanting waistcoat stitch of the previous round. You will continue like this until the end of the round. So we reached the end of the third round. There's only one stitch left, and it's the one that must be skipped. So skip it and move to the next one, which is the first stitch of the fourth round. Remove the stitch marker and place a single crochet. Put the stitch marker back to mark this first stitch of the fourth round, and then go back into the skipped stitch and place a slanting waistcoat stitch into the post of the last stitch of the third round, which is now the second stitch of the fourth round. It's a bit complicated, but actually it's quite simple. So now just skip the next stitch, place a single crochet into the next one, and then go back into the skipped stitch, insert your hook into the post of the slanting waistcoat stitch and place a new slanting waistcoat stitch. And again, skip the next stitch, move into the following one, place a single crochet, and then go back and place a slanting waistcoat stitch into the post of the previous one, and continue like this until the end of the round. This is the end of the fourth round, only 3 stitches to go. Skip the first one, place a single crochet into the following one, and slanting waistcoat stitch into the skipped one, and we're left with only one last stitch, which is the one that must be skipped. So skip it, go to the next one, remove the stitch marker. This is the first stitch of the round of the previous round. Place a single crochet, place the stitch marker back into this first stitch of the fifth round, and then go back into the last stitch of the fourth round, which was a slanting waistcoat stitch. Insert your hook into the post of the stitch and place a new slanting waistcoat stitch. And now this stitch will be the second stitch of the fifth round, and repeat the entire fourth round. Skip the next stitch, place a single crochet into the following one, then go back and place a new slanting waistcoat stitch into the skipped slanting waistcoat stitch, and continue like this, repeating these 2 stitches until your work reaches desired height. So I will work a few more rounds to give you a better view of this beautiful stitch, and I will see you then. And this is how it looks after 2 more rounds. So this was the slanting waistcoat stitch. I hope you liked it. If you want to know more about this stitch, then you can visit the complete blog post. You can find the link right below the video in the description box. Until next time, take care. Mwah.